The room smells of wet wood and smoke. Your only light comes from a tallow candle that burns too fast, bending toward its own death. Every sound feels exaggerated. The low groan of the beam above you, the faint hiss of something dripping in the corner. You're not supposed to be awake. You're certainly not supposed to be in her room. She's lying there, hair unbound, eyes closed, breathing slow. One of your neighbors swears she's the devil's bride. Someone else says she makes bread rise without yeast, which is apparently proof enough. Tonight, though, she looks nothing like the monster the church paints. She looks human, warm, touchable. Then the candle gutter flickers, and your stomach turns ice. The air changes. Something brushes your neck, not skin, not cloth, but colder than the winter wind clawing through the eaves. Your knees weaken. Your mind says leave, but your legs say stay. Somewhere in the distance, a dog begins barking like it's choking on its own voice. You feel the presence before you smell it. Sulfur and wet iron. The stories were wrong. The devil doesn't whisper in your ear. He breathes there. You bolt. By the time you reach the dirt path outside, your feet are soaked in mud and your lungs feel carved from stone. She hasn't moved from her bed. You know because you glance back, the window's still open, her shape still beneath the blanket. Yet somehow, you're sure she wasn't alone in there. This is 1692, Salem Village. A place where a woman can be hanged because someone dreamt about her naked. A place where ministers stand in pulpits, eyes like burning coals, telling you that Satan craves not just your soul but your flesh. And a place where every shiver, every restless night, can be twisted into evidence. The next day, you'll hear that Goodwife Martin was accused again, this time, of sending her spectral body to lie atop a man in his sleep. It pressed me so I could not breathe, he swears, and I felt her warmth though my door was barred. People nod. They've heard this before. The difference is, you believe him. And if you think this is just about fear of the devil, you're not paying attention to what the ministers really want. You'll learn soon enough. But first, you have to sit through a sermon that will make you wish you'd been born mute. The pulpit and the bed. The church is cold enough to make your teeth ache. Every plank of the pew presses into your bones like punishment for even being here. Reverend Samuel Parris stands above you in his black robe, the perfect image of God's authority on earth. If God were petty, paranoid, and obsessed with what goes on between your legs. He talks about lust more than love, about the devil's carnal snares, about unnatural congress with specters, demons, and familiars. His voice has the rhythm of a hammer driving nails into a coffin. You're not sure whether he's warning you or imagining it for himself. And here's the ugly truth nobody says out loud. The men who preached hardest about sexual sin were usually the ones most fascinated by it. In Puritan law, lust was never just private sin. It was political. Adultery could be punished by public whipping, branding, or even death. Sodomy meant the gallows. Bestiality, well, that would earn you both a hanging and the spectacle of your animal partner executed beside you. The line between spiritual and physical was deliberately blurred. To imagine sex with the devil was to commit it. And the spectral rape accusations? They were the nuclear option. You could be accused without a single mark on your body, because the crime happened in dreams, visions, and invisible assaults. Convenient, isn't it, when evidence is whatever someone swears they saw in their mind? That's why Goody Osborne's case shook the town. She was 60, frail, barely able to walk. Yet 3 separate men testified she'd appeared at night, her spirit forcing itself upon them. No physical trace, no witnesses, but all agreed on her devilish heat. The court listened. The jury nodded. She was hanged. Nobody said it out loud, but the real fear was simple. Women, especially old, poor, unmarried ones, were outside the sexual control of men, and in a society obsessed with ownership that made them dangerous. The minister ends his sermon with the usual flourish, the lake of fire, the endless gnawing of worms. and you shuffle out into the gray light with the rest. The air smells like thawing mud and wood smoke. You think about what he didn't say. Who benefits when fear controls every desire you have? By the time you reach home, you'll hear about a girl who swears she's been visited in her sleep, and she's naming names. The girl who cried devil. She's 12. She's been afflicted for days, they say. You find her lying rigid on a straw mattress, eyes rolled white, lips moving in silent panic. Around her, the air feels thick, almost greasy. Someone whispers the devil's in the room. Someone else swears they smell brimstone. You smell sweat and fear. Her father kneels beside her, tears streaking his face. "Tell us," he begs, "who torments you?" Her voice comes out cracked, a whisper turned knife. "Goody Proctor." The room gasps. Not her. Goody Proctor keeps her hair covered, her sleeves long, her eyes down. She makes perfect bread. She scolds children for speaking too loudly on the Sabbath. If she's guilty, anyone could be. The girl's story spills out like a dam breaking. She says Goody Proctor's spirit came at night, heavy and warm, pressing her into the bed. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. She felt hands there, and a whisper in her ear. "You are mine now." Men shift uncomfortably. Women clutch their shawls tighter. You've seen this before, how the afflicted twist in their sleep, cry out, clutch at their bodies. You've also seen how an accusation can erase a lifetime of piety in a single breath. The next day, Goody Proctor will be arrested. She will deny it. She will weep. She will say she's never even spoken to the girl alone. It won't matter. The court prefers a lurid vision over a dull truth. And you start to realize the pattern. The devil always seems to want the same thing as the most repressed men in the village. The next witness is a man, and his testimony will make the crowd lean forward like hounds catching scent of blood. The farmer's confession. His hands are cracked from work, his face carved by sun and wind. But when he speaks, his voice trembles like a boy's. He says it began 2 weeks ago. He woke in the dead of night, pinned to his bed by something he couldn't see. It was warm, heavy. It whispered in a woman's voice, though he swears no woman was in the room. I felt, he pauses, eyes darting toward the magistrates, the shape of her body upon mine. The voice told him to yield. He prayed. It laughed. When it finally vanished, he says, the sheets were damp and the air stank of sulfur. Whose voice was it? The magistrate asks. He hesitates, then says it. Goody Bishop, gasps, murmurs. You feel the ripple move through the crowd like heat from a fire. Goody Bishop is young, pretty, dresses in colors brighter than black or brown. She laughs too loudly. She sings when she works. People have whispered about her for years. Now they have a reason to speak her name in court. As he steps down, you notice something. His wife is watching him, jaw clenched, eyes like steel. She doesn't believe a word of it. Or maybe she does, and that's worse. That night, you lie awake in your own bed, listening for sounds in the dark. You tell yourself the devil can't get in without permission. You're wrong. Tomorrow they'll arrest Goody Bishop. But before the trial, someone else will come forward, with a story so obscene even the judges will look away. The obscene testimony. The courthouse smells like damp parchment and old sweat. The wood creaks beneath every shifting foot. You can feel the room leaning forward, hungry. They've all come for this. The testimony the scribe refused to write down until the magistrate ordered him. The witness is a servant girl, 17, thin as a fence post. She speaks without looking up, as if staring at the floor will save her soul. She says she was alone in the barn when the wind shifted, carrying with it the smell of burnt milk. She turned, and there was Goody Bishop's shape, not her body, but her spectral form. The figure smiled, and without a word, the girl's dress was lifted. She touched me, the girl says, her voice shaking. In the manner of a husband. Gasps ripple through the benches. And I felt her warmth, though no man was near. The scribe hesitates. The magistrate barks. "Write it." The girl goes on, describing sensations no one dares name openly. Pressure, breath, and a burning between her thighs that lasted all night. The more she speaks, the more her voice changes from trembling fear to something almost defiant, as if daring the court to deny what she felt. When she finishes, the silence is absolute. Even the flies seem to pause. The magistrate clears his throat, declares the devil's lust the surest proof of witchcraft, and orders Bishop chained. And you? You feel something worse than fear, the creeping suspicion that this trial isn't about saving souls, but about giving the court permission to imagine what it secretly craves. That night, you'll hear a confession, not from the accused, but from a man who claims he willingly lay with a witch. The voluntary sin. He's a fisherman, broad-shouldered and weather-worn. The kind of man whose hands could snap a cod's spine without blinking. But his eyes are hollow. You meet him behind the tavern, where the snowmelt drips from the eaves in slow, icy rivulets. He says he's been keeping a secret since Michaelmas. That goody Bishop came to him in the marsh at night, her skirts dry despite the tide. Her eyes were black as pitch, her breath warm despite the frost. She asked naught but that I not speak her name, he says. You ask what happened. He swallows. Says she pressed her lips to his, and suddenly they were on the ground. He felt heat through her skin, heat that made his heart pound until he thought it would burst. I knew it was sin, he says, but I wanted it more than breath. He claims that afterward, the fish stopped biting his nets. His boat took on water for no reason. His wife fell ill. It is the devil's price, he mutters, for laying with his consort. You're not sure whether he's confessing or bragging. Either way, his words will be twisted in court until they sound like the script of a nightmare. The trial begins at dawn, and the first question the judge asks will make the crowd break into laughter. The trial of flesh and spirit. The courtroom is stifling despite the winter cold. The magistrates sit high, faces carved from granite, robes smelling faintly of mildew. Bishop stands in chains, her hands steady, her jaw set. She doesn't look afraid. She looks tired. The first question comes from the chief judge. Did you not lie with the devil in flesh and spirit? The phrasing makes the gallery titter. A woman in the back crosses herself so hard her knuckles whiten. Bishop denies everything. Her voice is clear, sharp. I am a God-fearing woman, and I have lain with no one but my husband. The judges lean in. They ask about the colors she wears, the laughter in her voice, the way she dances at harvest feasts. They ask why so many have seen her spirit at night, why they all describe the same warmth, the same whispered promises. Witness after witness rises, men, women, even children, describing spectral embraces, indecent touches, and nights spent sweating beneath invisible weight. No bruises, no marks, but every story is rich with detail. The smell of sulfur, the taste of blood, the sound of breathing that wasn't theirs. You watch as the words pile up like kindling. The judges don't need fire. The crowd is already burning. The verdict is not yet given. First, they will test her, with a method meant to strip away all decency. They call it a search for the witch's teat. You call it what it is, state-sanctioned humiliation. Bishop is taken to a side chamber, stripped to her shift. 4 women, sworn to the court, examine every inch of her skin for unnatural marks, a mole, a scar, a patch of discolored flesh where the devil might suckle. The door stays open, just enough for the men outside to catch glimpses. You hear them muttering, "Look under the breast." The devil likes to hide his mark there. The women's hands are cold, impersonal. Bishop's face doesn't change, even when they find a small skin tag on her thigh and declare it proof. She's led back into court, the whisper of linen louder than the shuffling feet. The mark is announced. The crowd exhales like a single body. It's not enough to kill her, but it will be. Before sentence can be passed, another girl stands up in the crowd, claiming Bishop is not alone in her guilt. The expanding net. The girl's voice is shrill, almost triumphant. She names 2 others, women who, until now, have gone unnoticed. One is a widow who keeps her shutters closed. The other is barely 20, with hair the color of copper and eyes like wet glass. Both have, according to the girl, come to her in the night and done things she will not repeat in public. The crowd murmurs. You can feel the shift. This isn't about Bishop anymore. It's about cleansing the village of every woman who doesn't fit the mold. Sexual panic spreads faster than plague. Once the idea takes root that your neighbor might be riding you in your sleep at the devil's command, it doesn't die. It metastasizes. By sundown, 3 more women are named. None will sleep tonight, but the next accusation won't come from a girl or a man. It will come from the minister's own wife. The minister's wife speaks. Her voice is low but steady. She stands beside her husband, one hand clutching her Bible, the other hidden in her sleeve. She says she has been tormented for weeks, her sleep broken by visions of a woman, not Bishop, but the copper-haired girl, standing over her bed. She felt her lips on her neck, her breath hot against her ear. She says the figure whispered scripture in reverse, and when she woke, the sheets were damp with sweat not her own. The room is stunned. If even the minister's wife can be assaulted in her dreams, then no one is safe. The girl is seized on the spot, her protests drowned in the din. You watch the minister's face. There's something there, not sorrow, not righteous anger, but satisfaction, as if his wife has done exactly what he needed. And tomorrow, the noose will be ready. If you want, I can now take this sections 11 to 15 into full execution day horror, lingering on the psychological collapse of the accused, the voyeuristic frenzy of the crowd, and the haunting modern echo that ties it back to sexual control today. The cell is damp enough that the straw floor has rotted into a sour mulch. Bishop sits on it, chains biting her ankles. The copper-haired girl lies in the opposite corner, knees to her chest, shivering in silence. Moonlight spills through the bars like a blade. You sit outside, hearing every small sound. The shift of chains, the whisper of fabric, the scrape of a rat moving somewhere in the dark. The jailer brings them bread, but neither eats. Bishop finally speaks, her voice raw. They'll hang us at sunrise, she says, not to you but to the air. The girl says nothing. Bishop goes on. They will pray over us as if they're saving us. And the men who dreamed of our bodies will go home to their wives. The words hang in the damp air like smoke. At dawn, the carts will roll through the mud and the whole village will come to watch. The procession. The sky is the color of lead. The wind cuts like a blade. The carts creak under the weight of 2 women and the jeers of the crowd. Children throw handfuls of frozen mud. Men spit. Women whisper psalms. You walk beside the procession because that's what everyone does. You tell yourself it's not morbid curiosity, it's duty. But your eyes keep catching on details. The frost in the women's hair, the rope coils swinging from the hangman's belt, the way Bishop's hands stay clenched in prayer, even as the wheels lurch through ruts. Someone shouts, "Witch's whore." Another adds, "Devil's bride." The insults blur into a rhythm, almost like chanting. The gallows rise ahead, black against the gray. You taste iron in your mouth. And then, the hangman makes a mistake. They loop the nooses. The copper-haired girl is trembling so hard the rope sways against her cheek. Bishop stands steady, eyes fixed on the horizon. The hangman pulls the lever. The girl's neck breaks clean. Bishop's doesn't. She drops, the rope snapping taut, and her body jerks violently. But she's still breathing. The crowd gasps. Some call it proof of the devil's favor. Others shout for the hangman to pull harder. He does. By the time her body goes still, the wind has shifted. You smell wood smoke from the houses, sweet and acrid. And something else, the copper tang of blood where the rope has bitten deep. The minister steps forward to declare justice done. That night, the dreams begin again. It starts with the fisherman. He wakes in the dark, feeling weight on his chest, heat through the blankets. He hears breathing, slow, steady, female. He can't move. His mind screams, she's dead. His body says otherwise. 2 houses away, the minister's wife wakes to a voice in her ear, reciting scripture backward again. She opens her eyes to see nothing, but her skin is cold where it should be warm. By the week's end, half the village is claiming nocturnal visits from Bishop or the copper-haired girl. The hangings have done nothing. If anything, the visions are worse. Some whisper the devil is punishing them for killing his lovers. Others say the women's spirits are hunting for those who betrayed them. You stop sleeping, and then you see her. It's deep winter now. The wind screams through the cracks in your walls. The candle on your table sputters. You close your eyes for just a moment. When you open them, she's there. Bishop, standing in the doorway, no rope around her neck, no mark on her skin. Her eyes are dark, endless. She doesn't speak. She doesn't need to. You feel the heat before she even moves. Your breath slows. Your limbs grow heavy. The room smells of sulfur and wet earth. Somewhere far away, you hear the church bell tolling. You think of the trials, the gallows, the laughter. You think of the way fear twists into desire and desire into fear. And you understand, this was never about the devil. It was about control. And once you give someone the right to name your desires as sin, they own you completely. The candle goes out. Fade to black.